24th of June, 2024, and we are out. Are we out of Key 3? Graham Banks?
Yes, I think we are. It's in the.
I think,
It's in the. It's
and
in
I literally, just as we start, my fucking delivery rocks up. A couple more banned items of clothing. Yeah, basically, like, Key 3, the summer of games and winter for us. The winter of games announcements is done until Gamescom. Oh, there were like fucking 200 plus games announced. My wish list has ballooned once again, and we're not going to talk about much of it because I was sick and the window's closed. What a fucking shit time to get sick. Me and another well-known video game internet personality, both sick as, well, not sick as fuck. Yo, sick as fuck. But yes. So sadly, we'll talk about a few little bits and pieces, mainly Ubisoft, but yeah.
Yeah, we did. We did a first for us. We did a talk over the Summer Games Fest.
Well, two-person talk over. I've done a couple.
You've done a couple of your own ones, but yeah, we've done our first dual talk over. We did the Summer Games Fest on the Saturday morning our time, about 3 or 4 hours after it had finished airing. And then we did the Xbox showcase that night that one aired.
Yeah, the Monday night.
So we both had to stay off the internet for a full day, which was easier for some than others, but anyway. Yeah. I think we'll do that again next year.
Stayed off the internet, and then the fucking title of the fucking video
yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah,
I
couldn't avoid that. Couldn't avoid that because the way the bloody YouTube works. So anyway. Anyway.
Why the fuck would Microsoft put that in the goddamn whatever.
Anyway. So we'll probably do something like that. We may do, maybe should we do a talk over the Video Game Awards? Should we do that? Maybe we should do that.
Well, I did the Game Awards last year. But opening night live, the Gamescom opening night live, Keeley likes to do an hour or two thing for that.
We could try that.
So that might be interesting.
We could try that. We'll see how timing that works.
Yeah. I clipped out two sounds from the game from Summer Games Fest. Ken Jeong doing cock-a-doodle-doo.
Okay.
And I clipped out the lady saying, "What's up, gamers?" from the Among Us thing, because I thought that'd be funny. And that's one of my favorite sounds on the soundboard now. But anyway, enough about my frivolity and stupidity. Shall we talk about video games?
We should.
Because a bit of a busy day for recording-wise for the two of us. Because of me. God damn it. Anyway. There we go.
Yeah, so at the tail end of the main playthrough of Horizon Forbidden West.
How tail end?
As in, I've got the last mission to do, and I think I'm done.
Oh, I've got the bird. You've flown around on the bird.
Yeah, flying the bird. That's really neat. That's really neat. That's a bit of a game changer, you could say, in terms of at least in traversal. But yeah, I think I've done all the side missions I can so far, except for one, which is that one where you've got to go into each of the it's not each of them. There's 2 or 3 areas you've got to do the melee pit, I think is what they're called.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to do some challenge-based thing inside that and then beat the head guy or something. So I'm not sure I can bother doing that one, but that's sort of the only side mission I've got left currently.
Are you going to do the Burning Shores?
Yeah, I'll just play straight through and play that because I'm curious about what that is. Yeah, I'm sort of, 90 hours in, I think, so far.
Yeah, that's
something like that, which is kind of what I needed.
Big fucker.
It's kind of what I wanted out of it. I needed a game I could just really sink my teeth into and just really dig into because I hadn't sort of had one of those for a while. So I'll finish off this one and then I'll do the Burning Shores and I'll put that kind of game away until probably, well, sort of going back to our not that we've done it, but the Ubisoft showcase, whatever they call, what is it? Forward? Is that what they call this thing? Ubisoft Forward?
Ubisoft.
Something?
Sure.
That'll do.
Forward sounds about right.
Their show. They've obviously got the new Assassin's Creed game coming out, which is the Shadows one, which looks pretty neat. But I'm really interested in that Star Wars game. That Star Wars game,
Outlaws
actually looks quite intriguing in terms of its structure. So I'm curious. They're probably the next.
Fucking close.
Yeah, which is good. So I'm still playing through that. Yeah, liking a lot of it. There's a lot to like with that game. It plays really well on PC.
Mm.
It's they must either there was a drive update to Nvidia or there was a game update that made the frame rate go into the mid 80s, and which is
Uh,
weird thing. So
they may have added DLSS, maybe.
no, maybe I'm not too
I
sure.
don't,
There's some change. I don't know
I
what
don't
it
know.
was. Whether it was a driver change on Nvidia because I did an update on Nvidia at some point, and then yeah, the um.
Surprise frame rate hikes.
Mm.
Always a bountiful gift.
But the only problem is that it does have some really odd hits where in cutscenes the frame rate will just tank for some reason. It's really odd.
I wonder if that's because they locked the frame rate at like a 24 or 30 to
Yeah,
like replicate movie
yeah, maybe. I'm not too sure.
movie sort
It's a
of
really odd,
standards.
it's a really odd effect when it does it though. If it's
Mm.
deliberate. Anyway, yeah. So still really enjoying it. I will keep playing with that for sure. Still playing Satisfactory. I shall move on.
What a shock. There
Um,
is also Lego Horizon, which we saw at the Summer Game
yeah,
Fest.
which is another game. Which is.
I didn't know Traveller's Tales weren't making that.
I didn't realize that either, weren't they? Who's making it?
Gorilla is actually at
Oh,
least guiding, if not developing it.
Okay. Well,
Which is weird.
it's just Lego. It's just be licensed with
Yeah.
Lego rather than yeah. Captive Industry is the game that I have played a little bit of now. I've had that on my. I've purchased that many months ago now, and finally decided I would dig into it. That game's neat. We will probably at some point. It's still in early access. At some point, we might do a check out video when it's maybe got full 1.0 or something. They are talking about doing that, I believe, sometime this year. They've just released what they're calling Update 2, which is added how do you describe what it added? It added. Why can't I find it in my bloody list? Oh, there it is. It added something like. Why don't they make this easier to find stuff?
COI Hub. Oh no, that's something different.
It added update 2 is out. It was back in April.
Oh man,
so
there's an Armageddon map that looks pretty fucked.
Yeah, added new that map editor, which I've not dug into yet, but they added some new vehicles, some new machines and items you can buy. Plus, yeah, so they made a bit of an overhaul. Not 100% an overhaul, but a pretty decent change they made to
the
it.
patch notes on the Steam page, on their news on the Steam page, is pretty comprehensive and pretty long too.
Pretty long. Yeah,
Hydrogen vehicles, more fuels, conveyor lifts, ores sorting, loans, and again a map that's got a big fuck off crater in the middle of it, resulting from Armageddon or a bomb going off.
Yeah, because they've even got more. Anyway,
some thematic consistency there. I'll get to why a bit later.
Yeah, so it's a neat little game. Well, not a little game. It's actually quite a big game in terms of scope and scale. So it's got.
So is it more a factory game or is it closer in a sort of city builder?
It's a bit of everything, to be honest. It's not a satisfactory game where you're just building.
So there's no automation that you're trying to set up.
There is a little bit of automation. You can build conveyor belts between factory buildings. But you've also got this boat that you can send off and get materials and stuff back, which is sort of more on the city builder sort of thing. You can explore the area you've got and send out this sort of like search party kind of a thing to. It's all NPC. You don't do anything. There's no interactive thing. It just goes and does its thing and comes back with materials. So it's kind of a bit of a. It's not quite the Anno sort of direction, but it's kind of in that you've got to build, but you haven't got any. You haven't got citizens to look after per se. You've got a.
So there's no demands you need to maintain or anything like that.
Not specifically, no. Like you've got in an Anno game where you're. Well, that's another thing that was in the Ubisoft world. They've announced a new Anno game, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up a bit later.
Yeah, I think it's been well received in the Anno community. Yeah, so you've got it.
What is the Anno community like? Are they like assholes, or are they like just generally positive?
They're
happy people?
pretty. I mean, they're like, I mean, they're not assholes, but they are
Not elitist.
not elitist in any way, and they're also,
Cool.
if they see, they're happy to. They're not happy to. They're okay to criticise when it's criticization, when it's needed, sort of thing. To say
Okay, cool.
this is a bad idea. I mean, I'm only basing it on literally a couple of YouTube people that I followed that primarily play the Anno games.
You can get a pretty good window into a games community just from a couple of YouTube people.
Yeah,
I see some sort of rocket in the background there on the key art.
yeah. So as I said, I mean, I've only played it for a couple of hours, so whether how far you progress, the tech tree is pretty damn big. So it's the only sort of like population you've got to manage is you've got workers, and they sort of live in this kind of let's see if I can bring up. I wonder if they have it in the screenshots. Some of these screenshots.
It's a nice lineup of trucks.
So you can sort of see how there's not much.
Wait.
So you sort of see you've got pipes. You've got pipes you're building.
Yeah.
You've got farms. You've got water collecting. So you've got this. You've got a fair bit of stuff you've got to manage. But yeah, sadly these screenshots aren't particularly.
So is that like a mine that you build, or is that a feature of the environment?
No, as you're mining stuff, the game will actually dig into the environment. It's actually
cool.
Pretty neat. So there's a bit of deformation or whatever, destruction. Not
deformation.
Deformation of the environment. The UI is not. I mean, obviously, I'm still, as I said, early playing of it, so I'm still getting used to the UI of how to do stuff. Because there's things like, like you've got to not capture. You're trying to mine ores and stuff like that, and how you put those, build those facilities and mark out the mining areas a little bit not quite clear sometimes. What you're doing is going to work until it sort of starts to either not work.
Is there a tutorial or not yet?
Oh, there's a tutorial in it, but as I said, it's not particularly clear sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think it's something at some point we'll probably do some sort of check it on it, because it does have a lot going on, and it is pretty neat in how it looks. But I think we might end up waiting a bit until I've got my head around a bit more, and that maybe it's got 1.0, which, as I said, I'm not too sure what their roadmap is.
The early access information on the Steam page says they're intending to stay in early access for 2 to 3 years.
And they've already been in it since
2022,
so it's already been at least 2, I think, when it first. Yeah, May of 2022 it's came out, so they've gone past 2 years. And they are also talking about what's coming up in an update 3. So obviously, as I said, they are updating it quite frequently.
I think Baldur's Gate 3 was in early access for a good 3 or 4 years.
Well, Satisfactory's been out for 5.
Oh yeah, good point.
Satisfactory, if we got there, was 2019, so it's nearly been. It's been.
Holy shit!
5 as of a couple of months back.
Actually, what's your hour count in Satisfactory now?
It's around 1,700.
Still?
Yeah, so it's not that high. I'm not playing it that much.
I was going to say, it's been floating around 1,700 for a few months now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not. I'm not playing anywhere near the level that I was, because I sort of don't need to. So I sort of just play it to do the video series, and then that's kind of it, really. I'm hoping that when they release 1.0 that there'll be more content, quote unquote, to do that'll drive me to play it for bigger chunks. But no. Other than that, that's all I have played in the last couple of weeks. Not a lot. Been doing work has clouded my way a lot. So yeah.
Work has been work, man.
Mm-hmm.
Work has been work. Oh, Jesus Christ. I was clever. I forgot to send my notes to myself as an email, so I didn't want to be sitting there doing this the whole time because it just looks bad. So I just remembered that I hadn't done that yet. Dirt, because I'm smart. Come on, email. There we go. There we go. No, go away. There we go. All right, I'm good.
Yeah.
Ooh, a slide. Very fancy. First cab off the ranks is Pepper Grinder. I finished that. It gets fucking hard at points.
Mm-hmm.
That gets actually really fucking hard at points. I had a thing at work where I had to stay back for a while, but the time between actually finishing work and the thing starting, I was playing Pepper Grinder on my laptop, and I was literally at the final boss, and it was kicking my ass, and I had to try very, very hard not to just go, fuck, and start swearing and throwing shit, and just go, nah, nah. But yeah, that thing's still really cool. The traversal, the locomotion of the traversal that the actual drill provides, super clever, super cool. I didn't go back and do stuff like the time challenge medals and things like that because I saw some discussion on the Steam boards where I was like, yo, these are fucked. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not going to do them. I'm just going to collect the coins, get the 5 big coins in each of the levels, and we'll call it. So I did. But yeah, I think that thing's really, really cool. End of year wise, I can't say where it's going to fall. It's probably not going to show up much in the end of the year stuff we do. But I still think it's really worthwhile and really interesting and really entertaining. Speaking of entertaining, I have finished Bears in Space. I haven't gone back into it yet because there's still a lot of weapons that you can upgrade through number of kills, like a Ratchet and Clank. So there's a lot I still technically haven't done. There's a lot of challenges in each of the levels I still haven't completed, which have achievements tied to them. But that is not a small game. That is a 20 to 30 hour first-person shooter experience off the top of my head.
That's chunky for a first-person shooter, isn't it?
Yeah. 18.9 hours is how much I've put into it thus far. And then to go back and do some of those kill because like one of the biggest criticisms I think I could level at this game is that the kill numbers for the evolution of the weapons is remarkably high.
Oh, okay. Yep.
In a way that probably was designed to encourage people to continue playing and to keep going and things like that. But also in a way where it's like, yeah, I don't think I want to come back and do this at least for a while. And also, when you do evolve some of the weapons, they become super useful to the point where it's like, why the fuck would I use anything else? But like I said, when we discussed it, when Mike was on, there are just so many really inventive, clever events and pieces of writing and things that happen. And like when you go to any camera that is not the first person, so you're seeing either the bear or the spaceman, it's literally a cardboard cutout.
Okay.
So there's just all sorts of weird craziness going on all over the place in this thing that at bare minimum, I feel like a lot of people should experience this at least once. But just know going in that there is a lot of game there, even if you're just trying to get through it just for the story. And it's fucking fun to play too. It does have the Boomer Shooter label, I think, on Steam, or one of the tags. Presentationally, definitely not that, but gameplay-wise, with the speed and the number of enemies and all that sort of stuff, yeah, it kind of is. But yeah, I dig this. This is... I keep thinking about 2024, man. It's, I think, going to be a lot bigger than I think we're going to give it credit. We've given it credit for. Oh, there was the Nintendo Direct as well, because there were a couple of cool things shown in that.
Yeah, nothing stuck up for me, but yeah.
2 things for me. But anyway, we'll get to that later. The Surge 2. I am still playing this. I literally, on Saturday night, went back to the Saturday special of Friday Night Fun because I didn't do anything recording-wise last weekend, and accidentally turned in another near 5-hour video for the Surge 2. Because it was like, I was playing through this area, I'm like, hitting the 2-hour mark, and it literally labels on this door, there's a big narrative moment, either turn back or I'm like, oh, shit. And then I decided, fuck it, let's have a quick look, and then it ended up extending it by about 2 hours. But I ended up beating that boss. So I'm through to the next part now. I'm about 20 hours in, and I've got no idea how much story I have left, because it's literally just... Each of the the big bosses takes me a good hour to hour and a half. And the Saturday session was another half hour, 45 minutes of grinding to upgrade armor to make that fight even more manageable. But yeah, I'm annoyed I didn't play this on launch because this thing's fucking awesome. Probably one of my favorite not from games in that style. But yeah, it's very, very good. I dig it. I've played a lot of Super Video Golf since we did those videos, man. Where am I sitting at now? 16 hours of Super Video Golf. I'm going to sit tight and wait because there's a new patch being done. And there's two really big things that are coming in that patch. One is balancing of the career mode because the CPU players are fucking savages. So the developer put an update out literally, I think, on Saturday, and said that he was going to balance the CPU career players better. And there's also going to be a feature where you can pull the putter out when you're on the fairway around the green. So within about 11 to 12 meters, they're going to allow you switching to a putter so you don't have to chip 6-meter shots, and because that's fucking annoying. But I still dig this thing. When you get to a point of playing it for more longer periods of time or getting more into it, trying to actually judge what you need to do on certain shots that aren't just full power smash the fuck out of it gets a little harder, but that ties into the CPU players being fucked. Because if I finish a round of 18 6 under, because they're using Stableford scoring, I'm still way off. I'm finishing second and third, but you want to finish first. First worst, second's best. Wait, no, that's not how it works. Moving on. Who cares? This is onto the new stuff. Planet tiles. It was really funny. Remember how I was asking you about if you wanted to do a video of this, and you said, "Is it kind of like Islanders?" And I'm like, I don't know. It kind of is. But it adds a Tetris-y sort of layer to it. So basically, you get given a planet. You get given a sort of dug out piece of land. So far, the ones I've run into are sort of a squarish thing, and then a big middle strip running around the planet. And you get these different size blocks of forest, mountain, desert, whatever, and you lay them down. And if you get a 3x3 grid, you can then select a specific building type.
Yep.
Like a research, like an astronomy facility or something like that. And then after, you can only put down certain number of tiles before a turn comes up, and you have to sometimes pick a quote unquote natural disaster. Like you see the volcano in the background on the key art. Volcanoes are fucked because the volcanoes go off, and sometimes they will take out chunks of that you've laid down, but also just raise up one or two chunks in random spots that completely fuck the placement of your tiles. And the best way to actually progress is to fill the actual entire planetary grid on the planet without having any empty spaces. And the random generation of the pieces to place kind of gets in the way of that, because sometimes you just don't get the pieces you need to fill out those landscape spaces to get the biggest score possible, to unlock more shit to do and stuff like that. So it kind of mixes Islanders with a bit of a sort of Tetrisphere kind of thing, where the more sort of like elements you're putting next to each other, the more the score builds. And then you get a multiplier at the end of your round based on how many empty spaces you have left.
Okay.
And there's certain goals to meet as well, which one I was stuck on. I was like, what the fuck isn't this triggering? Until I looked at the one of the modified mutators you can have, and the icon on the mutator was slightly different than the one you were supposed to use. So I got confused, and then I didn't get confused anymore. Thing's cool, but that progression element of it, I think, gets in the way. Speaking of progression that gets in the way, I did a video on Saviorless, a solo checkout. I thought it was a search action game, more like a Metroidvania, but it's much more of a puzzle platformer, and I got pretty bored of it even by the end of the video. It has an interesting dual narrative layer where there's like an elder telling these two storytellers how storytelling works. And basically the main piece of advice is never let the protagonist get what they want, which is a fucked way to sort of look at storytelling in some ways. And then the actual story being told is a young character represented at the front here, trying to get to some mythical island to become a hero, because a whole bunch of people had tried beforehand and they all failed or never returned. And I haven't kept playing it. Here we come to the Ask block. A little block of a few auto shooting survival games. Oh, please don't yawn, because I'm going to start doing it too. Oh, God. And actually going up in quality on these things too. It sort of worked out nicely. I also did a check out solo of Pathfinder Gallows Spire Survivors. It's an Ask game based on the Pathfinder rule set. There's not much variety to it. It's fairly limited in the sort of weaponry you can equip in each run. There is the sort of difference of you have a party and you select one of the three main characters, and then one of the other two becomes a secondary member of your party. So that adds some of the variety to it, but yeah, I haven't gone back to it too much since the video. It's fine, but there is nowhere near enough variety and nowhere near enough to it to make it engaging. Swarm Grinder is another Ask game that reviewed incredibly well. I don't know why, because there's some things about it that really annoy the shit out of me. Two of them being the dash. You get a dash ability, and it has a fairly long cooldown. But also, when you are in a situation where you are getting hit by the little monsters, you slow the fuck down to the point where you can just get swarmed and watch all your health melt away. And it's called Swarm Grinder, but fuck is it grind heavy. Like, you're literally just repeating the same shit over and over and over just to unlock the next tier of things or just to do something else.
Yeah, okay.
I don't dig it. This one I do dig. Nordic Ashes, Survivors of Ragnarok. Has a really nice art style. And while it has less actively to do than Swarm Grinder, because there's some mining components in that, there's a little bit of stiffness or sluggishness to the movement. I really actually enjoyed this one the most out of the three. It's got a much larger scope and way more variety than Pathfinder. It's got a nice art style to it. It looks really nice. There's less of a random or RNG generated upgrade path in that when you level up, it's not like you're throwing up one of two choices that just randomly generate. You have a tree that you can go to and do how you want.
Okay. Yep.
And you can just stock upgrade points to go, hey, guess what? My little dude may have been shit before, but now he's a Terminator. Fuck you. It can maybe be a little more samey if you want to make that argument, but you can experiment with it as well because there's additional weapons you'll find in the environment and stuff like that as well. It's got a couple of really great little meta layer upgrade systems. One that's based on character mastery, and there's a broader upgrade tree that you get Yggdrasil leaves to upgrade for it. But of the three, this is the best of those three, and probably beside Pesticide Not Required, probably my favorite Ask game so far of this year. I'm still playing it, unlike the other two. I messaged you really annoyed after I tried to do a stream and video with this thing on a semi-stormy evening where the power went out and I lost the video. But this came out last year, Bang On Balls Chronicles. It's a 3D platformer collectathon sort of thing. You're a ball. You can choose different skins. You find different hats in the environment. And you collect shit. And there's a lot of shit to collect. I don't know how, what sort of wizardry, because I checked on how long to beat. I normally check that sometimes just to get a rough guide for how long I'm looking at to commit to a game. Someone had that you could get through the main story in 2.5 hours. My video, which was literally the first level, was topping at 2.5 hours. So I don't know what wizardry they're pulling, but yeah, there's a lot to collect. And it was fun enough, but man, with everything else that's coming out and just how much shit there is to collect if you really want to go that route, it sort of hasn't held my interest because it just sort of grinds you into the dirt a little bit. But it's fun. I don't know. This thing's fucking cool. Do you like pool, Graham?
Mm-hmm.
You sure? Because your pool table's just a table at this point. This is a pool roguelike. You aim your cue ball to either sink little enemy balls into holes around the table or to spike them or kill them in other ways. And you progress that way. I think within about 6 to 8 hours, I'd gotten all the achievements.
Mm-hmm.
Just a nice little small pool-based roguelike. I really dig it. I think it plays super, super well. And it doesn't like force you to just grind constantly to get shit, which is a really intelligent decision. I think this thing's cool. But anyway. This is possibly one of my top 3 games of this year in mini shoot adventures. It is a dual joystick shooter with bullet hell elements, but it's Zelda.
Okay.
You fly this little ship guy, this little spaceship. You fly him around this environment, getting new abilities, killing different big boss enemies to save the world. I don't know. The story's not massively well laid out, but there's like a really cool endpoint that, like, when you finish the game, it opens up a new thing you can do. And then when you do that, it's basically you get a choice. I'm not going to spoil what that choice is, but it is fucking fantastic. It might be one of the best playing games of this year, at least so far. I love the look of it. I love how it plays. I started playing this when I was sick, just for something that was not necessarily chill, but not necessarily like fully intense either. And I think I knocked it out in about 12-ish to 14 hours across like maybe 5 or 6 days. It is very, very good. I think a lot more people need to play this. Don't ask me why it's got the little apostrophe after mini shoot, but it just adds a nice little curiosity to it. It's fucking cool. More people should play it. Something more people shouldn't play: Bloodkill. It's a first-person shooter that tries to do the quote-unquote classic style, the boomer shooter of here's a bunch of enemies to kill, only it teleports them in out of nowhere. It teleports like fucking 80 of them, and then sponges them up, so you have to just try and hold down the trigger, and then you die, and then you get annoyed. And then it feels like a slog to play, and you're like, fuck this. Or at least that's what I did. I was looking forward to this too. I thought this was going to be really cool and really interesting and really fun, but it didn't hold up its end of the bargain, sadly. Children of the Sun, a sniper puzzle game where you control the bullet. You bust a shot, and then once you kill a target, you aim for the next target and fly. So when you get to the end of a level, you can capture the path that the bullet took, and it takes all sorts of weird, fucked up bounces all over the joint.
Okay.
There is a story. Trying to figure out, I guess, what the story's actually. It's a revenge tale of sorts. Your main character doesn't have a name, was a part of a cult, or their parents were part of a cult. Their parent died, and you're out for revenge. So you are going through these different scenarios, basically working your way up to kill the cult leader, which you do at the end. Because fuck him. But it's got this real oppressiveness and sort of dread in the visual and sound design. that it's sort of almost, it's that thing of cults are really fucked up, and it tries to communicate that visually and orally, but completely dialogue free.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it just really hammers home how fucked cults are and post-cult revenge life is. Like I want to fuck these guys up, but how the hell do I do that? Oh, I know. I'm going to be a magic sniper. There is some openness to the puzzle-based nature of it because it's more a puzzle game than an action game when you boil it all down. There's a little bit of trial and error to it, but it's short enough that trial and error nature doesn't become overbearing. And when you get it right, man, it feels so fucking good. You're just like, oh, yes. It's like this great power fantasy of taking all these cultists and shooting them in the fucking head. Just fuck them. But yeah, that was, I think, a 2-sitting, maybe 4 hours, 5 hours, if that. But very cool. Number one, if we were still doing best game name, this would probably come up. Yellow Taxi goes vroom. Oh, that's a great name. If you have any memory of 3D platformers on the Nintendo 64, this might be a game that you might get really interested in. You control the little taxi as a 3D platformer. So you hold down accelerate and brake, and then there's this technique where you do a little spin and dash off, and you do that off jumps, and that's how you actually progress. You can double tap it to flip the car on its lid, bounce off its roof and do a jump. And there's a bunch of more advanced techniques to get some of the collectibles in the environment that gets a bit annoying at times. But it's got this fucking great look. It's kind of crazy how well it actually looks. And it's got a kind of weird story where Alien Mosque is running shit into the ground, and only you, as this little taxi that has a little twisty handle on it, can stop him. And your dude that's mentoring you, his name is Morio. Which I think that's pretty cool too. And like, there's a secret you can access, but like you can buy hats in the levels that you just go on top of your little taxi. There's a secret you can get access to by having the right hat on your car and going to a door, and it recognizes you as a character. Or at least the hat does that twice. It's fucking cool. I finished the quote-unquote main story, but then it's thrown me into like 2 big fuck-off levels with a bunch more shit to collect. So I don't know how much more I'm going to maintain doing that. Tempest Bound. You're an owl, I think, trying to escape something and flee to safety. I don't really know because it's really hard to read visually. Like, it's going for a very classic motif of not even like 8-bit NES or not even Commodore 64. Like, it's a very narrow color palette, and trying to actually make out what the hell is even happening or what you're doing to progress is really, really hard. Like, the progress I'd made, it felt like I was literally stumbling into the progress and like not even knowing how I was doing shit. Like, it looked really interesting on the trailers and that on the Steam page, and then I played it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't understand what I'm doing here. And so I stopped playing it. But I think that stumbling around in the dark might actually be the point. I don't fully know. But yeah, that sort of bummed me out a little bit. Botany Manor has been reviewed very, very positively this year. I really liked Strange Horticulture from a couple of years ago. But this is less about identifying plants and trying to figure out the conditions to make certain plants grow.
Oh, okay.
There are hints in the environment that tell you how to do that. But you have to find them and puzzle it out. And the puzzling it out kind of did me in a bit. Apparently, it's only about 3 to 4 hours. I spent about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours with it. And I didn't want to do it anymore. And also the other part is you find letters in the environment, not just that give you hints as far as how to grow these plants, but you also get notes from friends, or being that it's set in 1890, you get hints or you get notes or letters from arrogant fuckfaces who basically tell your character that you're not allowed to play with them because you're a girl. You're not allowed to go study at university because you're a girl. Your place is in the home. And it's like, fuck you, man. Fuck this. I really like the look. It's got that sort of Witness style, almost flat shady but polygonal, very colorful look. And it's a great idea, but the puzzling of it, the tracking the hints that you find is not necessarily great, but there's a much slower pace and a sort of trial and error vibe to it that I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I think if people like more exploratory puzzle games like The Witness, perhaps, you will get more out of Botany Manor than I did, which is a shame, but whatever. I'm a simpleton. Hex Guardian, I like a tower defense game that's a roguelike in 2024. I have played I've played 10 hours of this thing in the last week and maybe 9 days. And it is certainly not a game that I would have thought I would ever do that with, because it's literally a fucking tower defense game. But it has a really purposeful meta behind the failed runs that make them meaningful. The actual building and trying to funnel enemies into these pathways is really, really well done. You can close off channels for enemies to come in, which if you do that too late in the game, it overpowers them because they get enraged and then you get fucked on that. It's got a really nice look to it. The sound design's pretty simple. The music's a little self-serious, but it's literally tower defense that is really interesting and really entertaining. It's great for, you have it open, you do a couple runs, and then you go do something else. Or you do what I do and spend 3 hours trying to beat one run or beat one map and then not figure it out because, I don't know, I'm maybe not the most strategic of thinkers, perhaps. I think that, yes, this is the last thing. Pool! So last year, I played way too much of a game called Suika Shapes. To the point where I had to uninstall it to protect myself more than anything. This game takes that Suika concept and turns it into pool. You get different little balls that you can shoot into this playfield, and you combine those balls to make bigger and bigger balls that are different colors, with the end goal of making a big pink ball that you can then combine with another big pink ball, and then yay! Only I'm not sure how runs end. I failed a couple of runs, but I'm not quite sure how.
So it sounds like that Threes games from a couple of years back, where you're combining 2 and 2 to double to 4.
There's elements of Threes to it.
Yeah, okay.
You'll get sometimes a little white ball, and you shoot that, put 2 whites together, it makes a little red one. Or a sort of peachy color like this one is, and you're just going up bigger and bigger balls. Threes is probably not a bad comparison to that Suika concept. Only instead of you actually are. You're taking 2 things that are the same, putting them together to make a bigger number. But you're doing it with shapes rather than doing it with number tiles.
Number tiles.
And yeah, I don't quite understand the progression or failure, but I don't know, shoot balls, make them bigger sometimes, and then it's like, yay! And then I move on. I have also watched a few things. Godzilla Minus One is on Netflix, and it's fucking amazing. I watched it in the Japanese. There is an English dub. I don't know. Yeah, that. So it's the Japanese Godzilla that came out last year. Very different from Godzilla X Kong, but man, it's fucking awesome. And that led me to watch Shin Godzilla, which came out in 2016. And Godzilla's a weird, creepy worm, at least at start, and then he evolves. It's fucked up. I tried Parasite. Just went onto Netflix, which I thought was going to have a parasite burrow into someone's head, and it was that movie from a few years ago that got really massive Oscar buzz and shit like that. I got bored 40 minutes into it, and it was like, these Oscar critics movies are just like, yeah, this is so great, it's beautiful, man. I'm like, this is fucking shit. And to tie up the crater from Captain of Industry, I have watched Fallout. It's good. It is very, very good.
Considering
to the
I
like.
thought we were going to watch that. The idea I had was watch that together, but you've jumped ahead of that idea. So
Oh, I just was like, enough of people have talked about it. I was just going to watch like an episode a night, which I did, and it took me about 2 weeks to do it.
yeah, I had the idea of doing that together and literally talking about it up in every episode. So that's the idea I had.
I can still do that.
Doesn't matter. It's too late now. Sorry.
Oh man.
Literally,
Oh,
I literally
I
had
ruined it again.
I literally had this conversation with you about a month ago, and you said,
Yeah, we had a bit of a conversation about it, and then it didn't really go anywhere. So I wasn't sure.
You said you weren't going to watch it, so okay, I'll go.
Yeah, I didn't think I was, and then
Exactly.
I did.
Here we are again. You're now watching it, so you know. If... I don't.
Look, you can't trust a ginger, all right?
Clearly.
We don't have souls. We get no effect when we lie. I probably shouldn't play into that stereotype, but it's funny too. It's funny when I say it. When other people say it, it just hurts my feelings.
It's really offensive.
Only a ginger can call a ginger. I don't like Tim Minchin, but that song's funny. And if you rearrange the letters in the word ginger, it makes another really offensive term.
Yeah, he's got a brilliant song about that too.
That's the song I'm referring to.
Oh, so it is. Yeah, I forgot what it was called. Yeah. Yeah. So it's good. So you've now watched...
It's fucking good.
It's got 2 series. It's got a second series now. I think it has, hasn't it?
It was greenlit for a second series within a week.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And like, I was really curious going at least all the way through into the finale of how they were going to do a second season.
Mm.
Once you get through the finale, it makes sense.
Okay.
And it sets up the next season really quite well. And I said to you as well, fuck, this is violent. There's some fucking brutal violence in this
thing. Yeah, can imagine.
Man. But I think I was very much dismissive of it, going, fuck this, fucking video game TV shows, fucking shit, whatever. But enough people talked about it, I'm like, alright, fine. And then I watched the first episode, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. I'm just going to do 1 episode at a time.
Hmm.
So, yeah, Shogun's next. The Disney Plus series Shogun.
Mm.
Unless you wanted to watch that.
No, that was all. No. I really wanted to watch Fallout. I mean, I'll watch it and then we'll do season 2. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, there we go.
We can redeem that.
Now that I've watched it, now that I'm actually convinced that it's good. I'll be honest, I was not, no matter, like, despite the positive praise for that thing that was going around everywhere, I was not convinced that thing was going to be good.
No, I mean, I think now that with what they've done with The Last of Us, not that I actually watched it, but that was very heavily praised. And now
I've got that on 4K Blu-ray.
And with Fallout coming out as well, there is a group of people who know how to make movie/TV around video games really, really well. And it's actually
but
not.
Then there's also the Halo series, which
it's also not. It's not movies. That's the thing. It's not movies. Yeah. Movies can't do a game properly.
No.
Whereas a TV series can, because they can really stretch it out, and really stretch it out to be, what that's what The Last of Us is really good for that. As is Fallout. So I think if you get, like, I'm not too sure what other franchises out there they could do a TV series on these. It's out there. Nothing else to mind.
Tekken.
Trying to think.
I watched the Tekken movie. It was fucking terrible.
Yeah, I'm not sure what would be out there as a franchise that you could do that isn't already its own franchise.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean. So
I wonder if the success of Fallout sort of thinks, okay, maybe BGS is going to try and get Elder Scrolls done.
Yeah, you can't make it. I was just saying you can't make a movie or TV series based on a game like that because it's too open ended for how each person would play it, and that's why The Last.
You can do it with Fallout.
Yeah, that's what I literally had when I was about to say. Oh well, that's what Fallout is. So.
But the smartest thing about Fallout is they set it in the world, and that there's elements of the mythos and the lore that come into play, but it's got nothing to do with any of the pre-existing games.
And that's how you do that type of game. You don't set it in. You don't try and tell. Unlike The Last of Us, you're still in the same story, which is fine.
Yes.
That's got a story to tell. That's linear effectively. Whereas the Fallout series or any open world game, whatever one you're picking, yeah, you should just put a story in that environment or in that world, and that's the story you tell.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'm not too sure that like think of all the games that are sort of out, so to speak, or what's I'm not too sure. I mean, the other thing that you like a game that like your game that might work is some of the um, XCOM style games. Not that you could, not that you're telling the same way, but that those laws, those stories are very story heavy in terms of what
I
they
could
do.
see a Horizon series working.
Horizon, yeah, maybe, but I think the problem with the Horizon would be just the scale of it would be tricky to do
Mm.
because you got to do
Oh, I mean, again,
you have to do
Fallout made it work.
yeah, but you have to do an awful lot of CG to make that one
Yes.
really work.
And do you try and tell a different story, or do you tell
Yeah,
Aloy's story?
yeah, exactly, and that's
And you don't have Lance Reddick around anymore.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's yeah. I mean, just looking at our game list that we've got on our little site there, I think that maybe comes to is the Plague Tale series that might work because it's
Again, do you Last of Us it and tell the direct
yeah.
story,
You
or do
probably
you
have
try
to
to tell the story
you'd
in
have to
that
tell
world?
you'd have to tell that story, I suspect.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
But then at that point, it's literally half a step removed from the game,
Oh, for sure. But
which The Last of Us is too. But like
yeah.
plenty of people got into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
I don't know. You could do. I reckon you could do it decent. Like the Mortal Kombat movie that came out a couple years ago was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, but again, that's just setting it in the world because you can't really
They
tell
also
this. They can't really tell the same stories they've had because they've had like 12 of them, and they're all intercrossing and all intermingling. So they'd be an absolute nightmare to try and.
They actually didn't bring much of the multiversal stuff into that movie. They
That's
had
about,
a brand new character that wasn't in the game. He was kind of a dipshit.
That's me. You're telling a completely different story though in that sense.
Mm.
You're not trying to tell one from the actual games themselves because I think that would just be so utterly confusing to people trying to to keep track of that story.
Yeah, retell Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah,
Why the fuck is Homelandy?
Yeah, where all those timelines are crossing over and stuff like that, it'd just be people just wouldn't do it. Yeah, so then
I don't know.
But I mean that's what I'm getting at. Like if you're telling that story, you're telling it to the people that like the game. Whereas you need to like that audience probably isn't big enough to make a movie like that actually be successful to the point where it's actually earns its money back. So you've got to be broader. Therefore, you can't do that story. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
But yes, Fallout, fucking great. Surprisingly so. I'll admit, going in, I did not think much of that thing at all. I did not think it was going to stick any sort of landing, but it did. I'll have been shocked.
Right.
Shall we begin the end?
In a bit of a strange fate, I need to go back to my list because I forgot things.
Oh no!
So I'm going to go back to my list very quickly.
Yeah, it has been like 5 weeks since we've done one of it.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at with it. Wait a second, what is that?
Kind of why there's so many games on my list too.
For some reason, my thing is not updating. What is that? Okay.
Whoop.
Something's weird's happened. I shall do.
Whoop, Graham broke everything.
Yep.
Wasn't me this time. So anyway, it's been fucking cold over here, man. Like, almost Tasmania cold.
No. No.
Look, not really. But, like, it's been getting down to, like, 6 and 7 degrees at night and shit. Like, I'm used to winters being, like, English summers. Whereas, like, 22, 24, maybe a bit grey, maybe some rain, fine. But, no, gingers don't like the sun, but we also don't like the cold. All right? But I also wear shorts at work, so. Whoa!
Alright. Come on, what's going on here?
I was going to say, will that break everything? This is great. Hey!
I think it's now working. There we go. Right, god damn it. Okay. So for first dwarf,
Mm.
this is a so out of all of the Steam, all the various Summer Games Fest, they did another Next Fest as a part of that.
Yep.
I downloaded half a dozen demos. I played I played three. I think I played about four of them. These are the three that picked that were had the interest the most. So first
Mm.
dwarf is similar to Frontier Lightier in a way.
Oh.
In that you're controlling this in third person, controlling this mech, and you're basically going around collecting items and building stuff.
Mm.
You don't have there's not a two players, there's not a second mech like there is in Lightyear. There is
Mm.
enemies though that you are trying to beat as well. And you're
I was going to say,
laying
the
down.
Steam page describes it. Yeah.
Can I, and then you've got things
Oh,
like
sorry. The Steam page describes it as an action RPG.
no, I guess maybe it is, but yeah. It is two player though, so,
Ooh.
I'll, yeah, I'll explain where the two player kicks in a moment. But your buildings, like you've got this little, you're trying to basically resettle this environment, and you can build houses, and you can build facilities to make stuff as you would expect, like sawmills and
Mm.
log that stone miners and that kind of stuff. And you're using this pipe stuff that's through the middle here. That's how you power the world. Is through these little
Yep.
pipe things. But when you're player, I'm just trying to see if I can get a decent picture. Where is it? That's typical. Where is
I almost get a bit of an Astroneer vibe in some of these shots too.
a little bit? Yeah, a little bit. I'm just trying to find the picture that will show off the second player, but I'm not seeing it in any of these.
They may not have captured it in
I
this.
can just see him sitting there's a little dragon. He's just sitting on just
Oh,
there. And apparently that's what the second player can control is this dragon.
does it do
So
anything?
he can breathe fire.
Fuck yeah.
And he can what you can't really tell from. So see how over to the right hand side you've got this big stuff over here, this little floating islands. So the world is basically this floating little mini islands like of land. You can't get away from them, but the dragon can fly to them, and he can do stuff on those other islands. It's interesting. I think it's got a fair bit of. Well, there's a good example in the background there. You see that's floating. There's a big gap between the two parts there.
I think it's got a nice enough look to it.
It's a very nice looking game. You've also got you can see you've got enemies here you're up against as well. You can build sort of automated guns and for them as well to help them. I think probably its weakest point is actually the combat that you've got in it. It's not particularly fluid or anything, but yeah. But yeah, it's a neat little game. I think it'll be something to keep an eye on.
The Steam reviews are fairly negative right now, but I think a lot of people may be going into that wanting something different than what the game offers, or they're saying it's just released too early.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So you played it early. You played a tower defense game. I played one as well. This is Tower Factory. This is Tower Factory. This one is really quite tricky, and I think it's whether it's not sure it's me or it's the game. I'm not too sure. But this is a tower defense game. We've also got some. So you've got the standard, paths in, and you've also got things you can
the factory component to it.
Factory component, which is then allows you to use the materials you're building or collecting to build this stuff up. And it just seems to really escalate really quickly to the point where you think you've got everything under control, then all of a sudden you don't have. And I know that's kind of the idea behind tower defenses, but like even with all these 1, 2, 3, like 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, dudes will get through.
They'll still get through. And you go, how the hell do they get through that? They really shouldn't be able to get through 15 fucking guns pointing at them, but they somehow do. And I think that's kind of where I've kind of fell off it a bit to say, well, this doesn't seem to be balanced particularly well. That this seems to be too easy for them to get through when realistically, I've got heaps of materials, I can build a shitload of stuff, and they still get through. And you go, how did it get through? Because it shouldn't really get through. But this stuff is really neat. So basically, you're building like this little guy here is like a woodcutter. You just place it in range of the trees, and it'll just collect what it can, and it'll just put it onto that, and then you got it through this little sawmill that turns it into like stakes for this sort of catapult thing. And you've got merges as well, so you can have them go into this and then coming to here and stuff like that. You've got the same thing over here and all fitting to that. So it's got some neat mechanics to it.
You being interested in this is the least surprising thing ever when you get the factory stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind tower defense game, but this one, added in this aspect. Well, okay, this is interesting. But I just, as I said, it just frustrated me to the point where, how on earth did they get through my 17 guns I had set up? It just doesn't make sense they get through. But I guess at some level that's what a tower defense game is. But I think the balance isn't quite there. But I think if they would maybe get that balance right, I think it would be a really neat game. And my last one,
just while you're scrolling,
is Airborne
just while
Empire.
You're scrolling down, I downloaded a fuckload of demos with the intent to do some video stuff with them, and then was too sick to do anything. And then some of the demos expired, so I just said fuck it and deleted them all.
Airborne Empire is really neat. I really like this game. So this is a city builder in the sky. In that you build.
It's been kicking around for a while, hasn't it?
Maybe it has been, but it's came as a demo. Came as a demo, so
maybe it's a different game. I'm thinking.
That game, I think it's a game that's similar to this, but it's not this one. I think. Yeah. So this game is really, really neat. So this game is due to be out sometime in the third quarter. They're currently planning for.
Yeah, I was going to say it said Q3 on the IGDB information.
So yeah, so basically when you first start, you start with basically this thing here, this sort of central building, and you basically add on to it. And what's really neat about it is you can build your paths and stuff you can see around here. But you've got to you've got to balance it as well. So you can't build heavily in one. Otherwise, it'll sort of flip the whole thing over, sort of thing. So you've got to balance it. So when you actually place a buildable item on the platform, it'll actually give you this tilt percentages of how far it's turning to the left, to the right, and back and forth and stuff. So you sort of know it's easy enough to do with it, but it's a mechanic that's quite interesting.
And that does create a different layer to it.
Yeah, it's really, really neat. And also you've got, you can see here, there's these things here. Obviously, for the audio people, it's a bit hard to tell, but there are buildings you can make that actually help the platform have lift. If you, again, don't provide enough lift, the thing will basically fall to the ground, essentially. So it's got some really neat mechanics to it, and how you get, you can see here, this front building here has got a little ramp thing in it, just here.
Yeah.
And that's how you actually build and get materials. So you can see down here, there's little planes playing around. So how you get the materials to build stuff, you go down to, you basically collect them from the environment underneath. So in this big picture here, we've got the platform in the front, in the foreground. Sort of bottom left, you've got some plants which give you fiber to make cloth, that kind of thing. You've got forest in the background, so you basically you can't just fly anywhere. You've got to fly within your range of your platform. And you basically just move the platform around. You basically go, I want to fly the platform. The whole platform moves. And you go, right, I'm going to go and collect all of the wood that's in here. And they grow back, which is really neat. At least the trees do. The forests grow back. There are things like, I'm not seeing them in these ones. You've got iron ore. You've got, materials like that as well. You've got water. You've got to go to lakes and get water. You go lakes and get fish for food. And basically you're progressing through, like you're actually interacting with the very last picture there. Where was it? Sorry, I think it was this one. Had this little town here. You can go to that, interact, and that's how you kind of progress the story.
Okay.
By interacting with that environment, it'll say, I need you to go to X, so you go to X, and that progresses the story, sort of thing.
Yep.
But you can also go to the marketplace and buy stuff that you need. but you can also go to the tavern and recruit workers for your platform, and that costs
How
you.
does it how does it compare to the Wandering Village?
So the Wandering Village,
even though obviously this is way higher in the sky.
Yeah, the Wandering Village is a little bit different in that you are doing way more granular planning of what you're doing, because you're putting down plants, crops, and stuff like that. Whereas this is basically you're not producing that many things on your own on the platform. If you need wood, you just go and get wood basically from the forest. You don't.
So there's like a dual layer of management here.
Yeah, so it's quite a neat concept, and if you need to go, if you're running out of wood, your option is to go fly to a forest and start, collecting it. You can store things, so you can store a little bit in various storages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it is
can you add propellers and stuff?
You can for propulsion, yep, and you can also So that's what that's about. So you make your platform move quicker, that kind of thing. But also you've got this for your lift as well, and so it's just a really neat concept is what they've done. And the story is all delivered via just like static images and just dialogue boxes popping up when you
text
sort of thing popping up.
Voice acted or nah?
No voice acting. I think that we'd really need if they could do it, but there'd be a fair bit in it if they did.
Oh yeah, voice acting is not fucking easy.
Not easy, and it's also not cheap. So, but yeah, it's a really neat game. Like it's the presentation of it's neat. The concept's really neat. They've kind of nailed it too. I think it works really well. So yeah, it's definitely something that I'd been had an eye on for a while, and this demo really did a really good job of confirming all that sort of those hopes, so to speak, that it would be good. Yeah, I just forgot about those three.
No, that's fine. These things happen.
So yeah, we should now jump into the beginning of the end. Unless you've got something? No? Yes?
Nah.
No. All right. Let's do that.
Begin the end! So, we are in the beginning of the end. We've basically talked about the Ubisoft forward, with Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows being the two big things coming out of that. You also mentioned new Anno. Anno 117?
Yeah, 117.
Anno 3-digit number?
Yeah, Anno 117
Pax
Romana or something like that. Yeah.
So that's a new Anno game for Graham to get lost in for at least a few hours. Those Outlaws looks really cool. Doesn't hold up beyond the visuals.
Yeah, well, that's always going to be the thing, isn't it? So, yeah.
And Assassin's Creed, there's always going to be questions. The transition back to the Hidden Blade after those massive games they were producing that were Assassin's Creed games.
Well, they've already Mirage already did it. Mirage already did it, so it's not a big transition.
This looks like it's going kind of back to Origin style big.
Well, I don't necessarily know it's going back to that style where you've got
only a little bit
where you've got the the RPG mechanics and that sort of leveling up kind of bits and pieces. I mean, the big difference is it's got two characters. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And you can one of them is a true Hidden Blade one, whereas the other character is just a bruiser basically. So. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that. Because last time I had two characters you played at was Syndicate, and that was I liked Syndicate a lot.
Yeah, Syndicate was great. I love Syndicate.
Syndicate was really good, but those two characters were very similar to each other, whereas these two characters are very different. So it's going to be curious as to can you choose which character you play as, and one person going to just depending on your playstyle, you just pick one character all the time, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes, but. I'm looking forward to that one. Anno's next year, so that's 2025. So, but yeah, looking forward to Star Wars Outlaws. It looks
end of August.
End of August, so it's not that far away.
No.
Yeah, Outlaws looks, as you say, it's all coming down to execution for that one, but everything they're showing looks impressive. It looks like it's like they've done the third person game where you got that little creature thing that hangs. hangs around with you, and he can be a distraction tool. So you've got mechanics there using Star Wars lore to to, to, to interact them, sort of thing. So yeah, it could be
One of
has
the
potential to be quite good, I think, but can also completely fall fucking flat. As you know.
Oh yeah, and one of the things I feel like could make it fall really flat, and I've seen this in one or two different places, is like if the game ends and it's surprise, she can use the Force, because
Yeah.
every fucking character is
Yeah.
like just having it be this like this person that isn't Force sensitive. She just is. That would
Yeah.
be cool.
That would be good. Yeah, you're right, 100%.
Can they resist?
Can they resist it? Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
That's the question.
Yeah.
The Nintendo one happened as well. A couple really cool. I thought the new Legend of Zelda looks really cool. Where you're actually playing as Zelda, and you're able to basically you have an ability to copy items in the world and use them to solve puzzles.
That was probably the only one I thought, oh, that looks interesting. Just the concept was,
it brings back the art style from that Link's Awakening.
Yeah, exactly.
Remake.
Yeah.
Which looked fucking cool as shit too.
Yeah. So they had examples where the character couldn't get up a mountainside, so they copied a rock or something, I think it was, and then put one down, and then jumped on that, and then copied it again and put it on the other side, and sort of jumped.
Stacked water blocks.
Stacked water blocks stuff. It has a really interesting concept for sure.
And a new Mario and Luigi. One of the RPG style Mario and Luigi games. There hasn't been a new one of those in about a decade. But those games have at least really, really great writing. So we'll see. And they showed Metroid Prime 4, and I couldn't care less. Because, I don't know. Make a Metroid Dread 2. That game is fucking awesome. I don't have much listens, because, but should we look at what's coming in July, or are we running long?
We could probably have a quick look. Just give me 2 seconds to set up for it, though.
Wonderful. So while he's setting that up, there's been a bunch of videos hitting the YouTube channel. Graham's continuing with the Solo Factory. I'm doing Friday Night Fun and the Saturday specials where I'm playing the Surge 2 on Saturdays. And twitch.tv/Enemy Starship for that. Go, subscribe and you'll get an email or follow. I mean, subscribe, you have to pay me money, which, hey, I'm not going to say no to people paying me money. Don't get me wrong. But, follow, you'll get an email when I go live. And then you can go, hey, and then go away. Because, there was a bunch of different demos I was going to look at. There was a bunch of shit I was interested in. And then by the time I was feeling well enough to actually do any video shit with them, a lot of them had been expired. So I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah, it's irritating that they understand why they do that, but it's irritating that they do that.
Yeah, there's a couple of demos for games that are on the July list actually that didn't necessarily expire, but they're close enough and I'm interested enough in them where I was like, fuck it. And just deleted them as well. But, yeah, man. Whew. Like, we went into Key 3 thinking, hey, what's the rest of 2024 going to look like? It's a bit fucking empty. Man, I really shouldn't have tempted fate on that one. Fuck. Because, Jesus Christ. Like I said, some, 200-odd games across the multiple shows. Jesus Christ. With, how close are we?
Very close.
Hooray! So there we go. There are a bunch of things coming out for July. This is June.
Click into July.
There we go. First up, the first Descendant was shown off a bit during Summit Game Fest. A Schluter. Nexon being involved makes me think it's going to go way to games as service and probably fuck it into the dirt, but it could be awesome. It could not be. Once Human is something I'm looking forward to as well, which is underneath. That is also a sort of Schluter that seemingly has a bit of games as servicey elements to it. Hopefully they don't hammer them too much. Angerfoot is something I've been looking forward to for fucking ages.
Yeah, and eventually got a big thing about that was they got a date during the Devolver thing, wasn't it? That it actually got a date.
Yep.
Cool. So
I've been waiting for this for a good year and a half, 2 years. Basically, first person Hotline Miami, where you're kicking the fuck out of doors, and it's great, or at least it looks great. The demo was fantastic. I really enjoyed the demo, and I'm really looking forward to playing that. Fallen Leaf is a cool little platformer, and it could be great, and hopefully it is. But and that's the thing with a lot of these lineups. When we're doing the upcoming games, a lot of the most interesting stuff I'm finding is indie stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's where a lot of the risk is being taken these days. So it's always going to be that way. So,
Evil v Evil is a first-person shooter that has an interesting look to it. I always like a good first-person shooter, but is this going to be a good first-person shooter? Who can say? Or is it going to be games of service out the arse and be shit? Fuck knows. Yeah. Hot Lap Racing. Racing games are cool. Graham, do you like driving a car?
I do.
I was going to say, I was waiting for you to go, nah, fuck that. Cars are shit. I do think this has a bit of the arcadey sort of style to it as well, which tends to do, or I tend to find a little bit more interesting.
Oh, yeah. Arcade is way more interesting than simulation for me, for sure. Yeah.
But this also looks very, very semi-realistic, which could be, maybe it is more simmy.
Yeah,
like,
depending on what sort of, semi versus arcade. Like, you can make it look good and still be arcadey, as you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, like Forza Horizon.
Yeah.
I was really hoping for a new one of those, but whatever. Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder. Sort of Metroidvania-y. I think it maybe has some roguelike stuff, which I'm really getting sick of roguelike stuff, like Dead Cells blowing up. Those Dead Cells is great, but you don't need heaps of them. But I think this one does have its own sort of story and its own sort of hooks. And the demo I played of it last year, I really dug. So fingers crossed, man, it comes out and it's not too roguelike-y out the arse, but I could be wrong and I could be bitterly disappointed. You never know when these things are this, like, where things are coming out.
Yeah, I like the look of this game a lot. So
it does look very nice.
It does look very nice in terms of how it's presenting the story and some of the stuff. So yeah, it's definitely one that we're both an eye on. Whether we obviously it'll be when it comes out in a couple of weeks' time, or about 3 weeks' time, we'll know for sure how it sort of landed. But yeah, it seems like has a lot of promise. But yeah, as with all these games, can it stick whatever landing it's going for? That's the big thing always. So
Bloodkill had mad promise, and then it shat the bed. Cataclysmo, sort of a little tower defensey, but has a really cool look to it. Tower defense is coming back, y'all. This isn't the one that has dinosaurs in it, though. That was a different show. We're back in June.
June. Damn it. To fix that.
There we go. What's after that? Bo, Path of the Teal Lotus. Sort of 2D platformer with some of that. Whether it's Souls-ish in its combat, that's at least one of the tags that's on the Steam page for it. But I like me a good 2D platformer with some Metroidvania sort of elements in the Soulsy combat. So I'm hoping this turns out really, really well, and it's got a really nice, and again, a really nice art style. So that could be good. This I've been waiting for since it's been announced. Dungeons of Hinterberg got shown off at a Microsoft thing, I think a year ago, 2 years ago maybe. Has a sort of action RPG sort of style to it, but with a bit of maybe building-y sort of stuff too. But it's got a great look, and I like running through caves and hitting dudes. That's fun, or it can be. Flintlock. Yeah. Oh, God, I hope this comes out good.
Yeah.
Please come out good. Please come out good. I like the starkness of the text treatment that's in the recent trailers for that thing. It's fucking great. But yeah, I played a demo for a upcoming Souls-like that did not stick the landing that well for me, and it makes me think a little bit, oh no, please don't let Flintlock be shit.
But there's actually, if you want to, you can. There is a demo for this.
There is a demo for this.
There's a demo for this now. That's one of the ones I downloaded, but I haven't gone and played it yet.
Okay. Lots of screenshots on that one.
Mm.
Conscript is a really interesting one in that it's a top-down, as you can see, sort of survival horror-y game set in World War One.
Yeah, I actually played this at PAX last year.
Oh, did you?
This was at PAX last year. Yeah.
How was it?
I didn't. I mean, it's playing a game in a PAX floor is not not the best place to play a game because you don't get any of the tutorial stuff you would normally get if you're playing it from the beginning. I like the visuals of it. I just think it was missing that stuff, that context that you need to know why you're doing what you're doing, and how to do some of the actions. But I think it's got a lot of potential. But as I was saying,
demo for that is still up on Steam too.
That's probably
or is that one that expired? I can't remember.
That would probably be, if you could play a demo of that ahead of time, I would probably do that. It's it's top down, but it's also really heavily pixelated, so it's not.
Yep.
It's not sort of doing the new method of pixel where stuff's really crisp and clean and stuff, but it's still got that look to it. This one's not. It's really
the PlayStation 1 aesthetic is coming back hard this year.
It's very much like that. So it's not
a lot of people are doing that, like Crow County or Country is doing that too. Slider. It's an adventure game, but you slide tiles around. It looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm really keen for. There was another game very similar. I think it's role puzzling game or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was on one of the streams during Key3, which looked great. And what a great name, WeCode the Mask Gatherer. Sort of has a bit of 3D sort of Zelda-y vibes to it, which I like me though. Like, what was the really pretty one? Kena, Bridge of Spirits.
Yeah, I was going to say, other than the
sort of a Kena vibe to it.
Yeah, certainly in terms of its perspective and sort of angles and stuff like that. But obviously, yeah. But
so again, another game I'm really hopeful comes out well. But yeah, some great stuff coming. I don't think I told you this. I said it on the show last night on the Saturday special, but I pre-ordered the DLC for Elden Ring.
Oh yeah.
And I pre-ordered it before I found out what you had to do to actually start it. You can't just start it from the fucking menu.
Oh, okay.
You have to have beaten Radahn, who's like a mid-game boss that's a fucker, and an optional boss called Mog.
Okay.
But because after I finished the game, I started New Game Plus, so I'm right back at the fucking start of the game.
Yeah, okay.
So I'd have to play for 50 or 60 hours to get to the point of starting. I'm like, fuck me! You stupid dickhead! It's the same. Why can't From do a DLC where you launch it from a menu?
Or go back
you stupid bastard.
Or go back to some sort of save point where you can just go and do it, sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, if I hadn't have started New Game Plus, it would have been fine. But no, I'm a fucking idiot. I started New Game Plus, played it for half an hour. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I'll come back to this. No, I didn't. What a dum-dum. But that's me. Dum-dum. Right here. I ain't got nothing else. The NBA season's done.
Nothing else. I've got nothing either.
Yep. So, let's end this. And let's all move on with our lives. Do something else.
We should do that.
Sounds like a great. Whoa! I was hoping you'd at least let me finish up. Fucking hell.
Press the button too early. My bad.
Nah, it's just a good way to shut me up. Press the button. Fuck him. Bang. Episode 301 of the Should I Play This Game podcast for this, the 24th of June. Graham Banks, as always, thank you very much.
There you go.
And we'll do some video stuff between now and next Sunday, and record some video stuff probably next Sunday too. Why wouldn't you? Solo Factory this week?
Yeah, I've still got episode 22 to actually edit. I haven't got around to doing it. It's just in there to be edited and put together, so I'll do that at some point today or tomorrow and get that out there. But yes, and hopefully move on to 23. Yeah.
There you go. And, yeah, come on back. Keep an eye on the YouTubes. Give us a... See, this is the annoying part, because Twitch, if you subscribe, you're giving that person money, but you follow, you get an email saying when they go live. But on YouTube, you subscribe to the channel, and you get notified. Why can't people just use consistent bloody terminology?
Terminology.
Motherfuckers, just make it all confusing. Go ring the bell over on YouTube and get notifications for when we put shit up.
Mm.
I'm on holidays in a week.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I already know what I'm playing. I'm going to make a start in Dragon's Dogma 2. And maybe, just maybe, Ghost of Tsushima.
Mm-hmm.
Try and play 2 big fuck-off games at once. Why wouldn't you? What a dumb idea that is. Okay, Graham, hit the button. Thanks for hanging out. See you next time.
Bye.